r/AskReddit. Girls who make the first move, what advice could you give to those who don't, so that it isn't so intimidating? Girl here. Guys really aren't that scary. For some reason girls seem so afraid to approach them, but the worst that could happen is that he seems uninterested, so in the long run you've lost nothing and gained experience. It's about going in with the attitude that you are a dateable interesting person and you just have to show him that. Bisexual girl here. Guys are absolutely harder to ask out than girls. You're right though, I wouldn't really call them scary. Both genders are equally oblivious, men because they seem to be baffled by the situation being asked out, women because they can't seem to process that I'm not straight, I don't look like a lesbian stereotype. But guys have this unintentional wall up, like they just refuse to socially cooperate with the situation. I don't mean say yes, more like their gears get stuck and they can't react properly. A yes, a polite no, anything. Whereas girls generally feel obligated to respond. They'll say sure, or very politely inform you that they are not interested in women, or just no thank you. But then again, I think the whole situation is self-perpetuating. Girls don't ask guys out because guys react like weirdos. Guys react like weirdos because they are unfamiliar with the situation, because they are never asked out. They don't grow up with the same sort of media/pop cultural instructional guide on how to handle being asked out. Guys get how to ask her out, and girls get how to be asked out. Edit. By instructional guide, I mean basically all of the TV shows, movies, songs, etc. in which guys are usually depicted as trying to figure out how to get the girl, and girls tend to be assigned the role of recipient. This sets up the real life standard and expectation that this is how things do, or even should go. I didn't mean that we all were somehow 100% educated on how to successfully execute either side of the interaction. I'm a girl, and have never been bothered about making the first move. I actually kind of enjoy it. I think that's part of the fun of it. A lot of guys like it when women are bold and unabashed about what they want. And why should we be? I guess that's why I'm not one to hold back. I hate games, so I feel as though I may as well be upfront. What's the worst that can happen? I actually can't think of a bad experience off the top of my head that has come from making the first move. Probably because the worst that can really happen is that a man would be flattered. Who wouldn't be flattered, even if he doesn't want anything to progress any further? Who doesn't like hearing that someone finds you attractive? That said, I don't think I've ever walked up to a man and been like, hey, I like you. I still think that you need to read the signals as best you can. Is he single? Does he seem at all interested? What do I want out of this? If you strike up a conversation you can see if there's chemistry, and if he seems to reciprocate, then you can really make the first move. You still need to be aware of how things are going. If he blocks your questions and makes a hasty exit, then leave it at that. If he talks to you and you are both laughing and having fun, then say whatever it is you want to say. 9 times out of 10 making the first move for me is just starting a conversation and going from there. A bit of flirting, asking questions. That's probably my main advice. Go in with an open mind and ask questions. Be interested in the person you're talking to. Pay attention to cues and the way things flow. And if you are into it, then you can escalate things. Can I have your number? Do you want to get a drink? Kiss me. Do you want to come home? Whatever you're trying to achieve, or whatever you want to say, should come at the end of the initial conversation. Seriously, just say it. No one is going to be offended or upset. The vast majority of people like to know that they are desirable. The worst you will get back is, I have a girlfriend. Sorry, I can't tonight. I have work tomorrow, or whatever. And is that really so bad? I met my BF 2 summers ago at work, but I was planning to move in 3 months. One night we were at a friend's apt, and we were the only 2 people left awake. I wanted to kiss him all night. We had been talking for hours. We laid down on the floor next to each other. I knew he liked me, but he knew I was leaving the state, and I'm sure that stopped him from making a move. My heart was racing, but I decided to say fuck it. I'm the cool girl or best friend archetype, but damn it, It's my life. I'm the main fucking character. So I said, I'm really going to miss hanging out with you. But there's something I wanna do before I move. I kissed him on the cheek and I didn't die. He confessed he had been crushing on me as well, and we figured things out. Almost 2 years later, and he's the best thing that's ever happened to me. We are planning to get married, and if I hadn't overcome a moment of fear, I would have regretted it to this day. Edit. So this got a lot more attention than I expected. Tried to answer as many questions as I could. For those who are asking, yes, I did move for 4 months. I had already accepted a job by the time we solidified our relationship. Watching him on the train platform as I pulled away was the single worst moment of my life. I thought, okay, where's the camera and the director, cause this is too much like a movie. The job sucked balls. It was horrible, and it gave me severe anxiety, plus not knowing anyone close by worsened my depression. I decided to move back home. I was scared, because we had only had this long distance thing. I was afraid I would screw it up, or he wouldn't like me, like he had before. But, I found that we are perfect for each other. Yay, we have off days, but the good days are really sweet. I'm so glad we didn't give up on each other. And to the haters, I said we are planning to get married. Not that it will happen this year. It's a ways away. I've made the first move with all of my boyfriends, and keep trying to convince more of my female friends to join the club. What has worked well for me is to spend a while talking to a guy and doing my best to flirt. Note, also applies to flirty texting, Cupid messages, etc. After half an hour or so, most men are excited and hopeful, but afraid they're reading your signals wrong. That means they're hesitant to cross the line into talk that's overtly about going on a date or hooking up. Ladies, that means it's your turn. Make an overt statement that does cross that line. My friends are going out to local bar on Saturday. Would you like to come with me? Can I buy you a drink, sailor? So, are you coming upstairs with me, or what? At this point, most men are overwhelmed with relief that you've spelled it out, and they can stop trying to guess. This also ups your chance that any given guy will say yes. It didn't cost him anything in terms of risking rejection, so why the hell not give you a shot? I regularly put myself out there. Most of the men who I have dated are men I approached. I may not be the best woman to ask, because I simply don't understand why other women are unwilling to just go for it. What's stopping you? You don't have to just walk up to him and ask him out. Start flirting. Flirt. Flirt hard. Touch his arm. Give him a playful punch. Throw in a line that sounds slightly sexually. This isn't to get him to ask you out, but to gauge whether you should ask him out. If he's into it, then I try to build a friendship, build those little inside jokes. Play the long game. Invest yourself and take your time. If I meet a guy I want to ask out, sometimes I plan my moves out over the course of a few weeks. Getting laid/having relationships takes effort. If I get enough signs that he's into me, then I see no reason to wait for him to ask me out. So I just ask him. I don't play games, and neither should you. Very openly, honestly, and genuinely tell him your intentions. Maybe it's just to grab a cup of coffee. Maybe it's a, hey, I love our chemistry and I really enjoy your company. Want to go back to my place and make out? Or it's straight up asking if he wants to be your boyfriend. What's the worst that could happen? I'll tell you the worst that could happen. The worst thing that can happen is that he says no. We all get turned down sometimes. Man up, HMM. No, that doesn't work. Buck up, that doesn't work either. Adult up and deal with it. A few weeks ago there was a Reddit post asking girls something to the effect of, at what age did you realize men were attracted to you? I'll admit that I was shocked to learn that girls experience creeps, being hit on, ogled at, etc. at an early age and way more often than and I bet most guys realized. Sorry for that. But for most guys, the experience is far from that. Girls rarely make it known they have an interest in us. So lots of guys go through life not really knowing how visually appealing they are to the opposite sex. Is it any wonder men tend to be the ones that miss those oh so obviously being hit on signals? We simply do not expect it. It should go without saying, if we realize what is happening, we will be floored. Imagine being a guy who is always expected to make the first move. He is scoping a room of potentials, planning his approach, and considering whether or not the girl is single. Now, while you are doing this, a girl comes to you and asks if she can buy you a drink. You are instantly informed of several things. This girl is single. This girl is confident. This girl is not afraid to spend her own money. This girl interested in me. And this girl is willing to say fuck that to societal dating norms, making her unique at worst and interesting at best. Whether or not you were looking at this girl before, now she is the only thing on your mind, and that kind of momentary captivation is easy to capitalize on. You, the man, are now stumbling over your words, not certain how to proceed. She sits down, smiles, and buys you that drink. Suddenly all the scoping you did a moment ago slips from your memory. This girl just became the center of your attention, and you didn't even know that she was eyeing you. This secondary realization both humanizes the girl before you and helps you to relate to her, knowing how difficult it is to make the first move. She is no longer an object of affection, but a person. Now that you've had time to relax, you may start inspecting her form and other qualities, but this girl already accomplished more than most girls would over the course of 3 dates simply by walking to you and saying 6 words. TLDR, standing out is attractive. Confidence is attractive. Shots are cheap, and if you aren't, then you can afford to buy him one. It's blatant and simple, just like the male mind. Go for it. Be direct. He'll not only probably say yes, but will also respect you more. I believe I could be of some help here. The biggest thing is to remember that no matter which way it goes, the world isn't ending. The worst thing that can happen is that he says no. And really, if he is blind enough to miss your absolute awesomeness, then he wasn't worth the time in the first place. Here's another thing to keep in mind. Whenever I have made a move, I never thought it would work out. My first boyfriend, who was like a legit 9/10 totally out of my league guy, actually had a crush on me for years. Nothing would have happened if one of our mutual friends didn't give him my number after I expressed interest, because I was trying to figure out his name so I could find out whether or not he was single. Long story. Even then, after months upon months of flirting, had I not texted him one day from a whim saying, "Let's just make out now," we certainly wouldn't have ended up together. You will be shocked if you knew how many people reciprocate interest but don't think you will, so they never say anything. Keep that in mind. Remember, you are worthy of their time. You are not out of line in trying to hang out with a person you have interest in, and at the very least you'll be giving them a compliment and learning for next time how to approach it better. Heck, you may end up with a friend out of it. Number 1 is confidence. I always say to myself, you'll only regret what you don't try. Edit. Since I'm being ripped apart in the comments, I should clarify, when I say waste of time, I'm not saying the person is just an awful person for not liking you back. I'm saying that any time spent pursuing them would be a waste, because you were clearly not a compatible match. It was a fairly general statement. I think it is extremely important to reject someone right away if you aren't going to be interested, and by no means makes you a bad person. In addition, by saying awesomeness, I simply mean that we all at our core have great attributes that someone will absolutely adore, so you should never settle for less than you deserve. This will work in a bar situation only. I will probably not get upvoted for posting this, but it works every time. The secret is drink 2 or 3 drinks, just enough to boost your confidence, but not enough to make you sloppy. Then make eye contact with him and smile every now and then. If he is reciprocating, then proceed to approach him. Just say, "Hi, what's your name?" or "Hey, you're really cute," or "Hey, did you come here with so and so?" I disagree with the "come with a smart" comment. It is seriously not needed and looks forced. If the guy is into you, he will continue to chat and take the conversation from there. That is the secret. Guts, a smile, and a simple hi. Now if you want to keep him intrigued, then let him feel like he's in control by asking for your number, pursuing you, etc. It's a give and take. No one party should be doing all the work, at least in my opinion. Edit. I think the key takeaway here is eye contact, a smile, and simple, friendly opening lines. I'm a dude, but the argument isn't hard to make. Making the first move is something basically all guys have to do. It is intimidating, but we all manage. You just have to do what millions have already done, but your chances of rejection are significantly lower than what men face. Men aren't used to the luxury of the option of accepting or denying potential mates who throw themselves at our feet. We are not viewed as valuable, or precious, or desired. If a ship goes down, the women and children are worth saving. If a city is conquered, the women are taken, but the men are killed. I know this isn't good by any means, but the point is, we are never prized or valued. Men are not complimented ever. As a result of this, the determining factors in male beauty are a mystery. Muscles, I suppose? I seriously don't know. I heard the male, but is found attractive once, and it blew my mind. Seriously, anything on this topic would be incredibly enlightening. Men are supposed to win over the women and we don't even know what they're looking at or for. Shallow answers are fine. Just give us something. There is this standard of ladies being proper and a stigma around such a thing, but just say the word and I would be happy to do some squats. I know women feel they can be over-sexualized and held to impossible standards of beauty, but imagine growing up never even considered as a potentially attractive being simply because of your genitals. We are stereotyped as aggressive and brutish. Creepy is a common one. We can be criminals and beasts, but never beautiful. Rather than a judgmental audience, you would meet a grateful one. Come over, say hi. If you offer to buy me a drink, I would buy you a ring. I have the feeling that this might be a bit of an American thing, for it to be so not done for a girl to make the first move on a guy. I live in a European country and it really isn't that weird for a girl to ask someone to have a drink sometime. Must be tedious if it's always the guy's job. I'm known to kind of have no filter, so I'll make first moves left and right and I'll just be honest about it, and so far it's only worked in my favor and guys are happy to go along with it. It doesn't have to be as official as "can I take you out sometime?" It can be a flirty conversation in which you mention an event that you're going to and ask him to come with. It can be an evening of drinks with friends that ends in a "can I kiss you?" Or in my case, "I think we should have sex this evening," and Thana, "can I kiss you?" Or it can be a drunken conversation in which you casually ask something like, "Hey, so do you think we could work together?" And he says, "Man, I think you're super cute, but I don't think that would be a good idea cause we are just good friends," and you say okay, and you're a bit sore in the heart area, but at least now you know. I think the main thing that works for me is keeping in mind that if you really want something, be it sexy times or lovey things or even just friendly things, you can't just keep counting on other people to pick up on your intentions and take the plunge for you. That's like being hungry and expecting someone to just notice the grumbling of your stomach and feed you a sandwich or something. I get that it's scary, but to me, floating in the void of uncertainty is a way crueler fate. I don't know if this counts as a first move if I had been friends with him before. But one night, friends and me and my crush are all hanging out, something we all did often. It's a long night full of drinking, bar hopping, laughs, glances, occasional conversations with him, and also just generally good vibes from him. That's what I sensed. But when we are headed home, I see no indication that he's interested in anything. I had been wanting to go home with him for a few weeks. We keep talking, but I don't sense any flirtation. Good vibes, yes, but nothing explicit. We go our separate ways. I'm at home, so disappointed that I just kind of ask myself, what if I just showed up at his door? We were neighbors. Worst that could happen is he's not interested, and then I don't have to worry about this /him/crushing anymore. So I go to his apt, knock on his door, and smile, and ask, "Do you want me to go away?" The reason I'm there is pretty obvious. He smiles, says, "No, I want you to stay," and so I stay. We've been dating for 6 months now. It was scary, and I had lots of liquid courage in me which helped, but I'm really glad I went for it. I guess I'd just say that in my experience, making a move and getting rejected, which has also happened to me, feels better than crushing and worrying for months. It's difficult to make that move, but once you do it, you'll likely gain confidence, and it may become easier to interact with men. And I'm totally with those who have said that natural conversation is the way to go. No need for pickup lines or cleverisms. Attitude is the biggest thing. I'm the more outgoing person in my group of friends, more because I don't really care what people think of me, and generally, I can carry on a conversation with anyone about anything. But biggest tips are: fake it till you make it. The more you tell yourself and believe that you're awesome, the more attractive you will be. Guys like girls who are confident, even if you're terrified and unsure on the inside. This and flirty eye contact can get many men to talk to you. My girlfriends always ask how I get guys to talk to me everywhere I go, and it's because being confident / smiling / eye contact tells them you're approachable, happy, and fun. Know that people, in my experience, don't just refuse to talk to you. Yeah, the conversation may just go, hey, what's up? Nothing. That's cool. And you leave. But even if that happens, it's not a big deal. And if it's a random encounter, you may never see that person again. Learn how to start a conversation. It can be about literally anything. Heck, I've gotten my girlfriend talking to a guy by saying she thinks they're cute, which she hates me for, but it worked, and they stayed in touch. People you know in class or work ask about assignments, what they did on the weekend, what they think about X topics. Make the question things that are open-ended and hard to answer with 1 or 2 words. People in bars / random places talk about what they're drinking, where they're from, what they do, the music on the radio, whatever. If the person and you click and the conversation flows, awesome. And don't be afraid to ask if they'd be interested in keeping in touch. If it doesn't, and know that comfortable silence isn't always a bad thing, just gracefully say it was nice to meet them and leave from there. Seriously, just try it. It can be scary, nerve-wracking, and awkward, but you will get better with time. And one botched conversation is such a tiny, insignificant thing in the grand scheme of life. I promise you will be so satisfied with yourself knowing you did something out of the ordinary for you, especially if it works out. Intuition. Women are, with the knowledge I'm generalizing, much better at reading the signals. This isn't some innate biological ability. It's a hangover from the fact that women are socialized to the conversation tenders, the relationship menders, the diplomats, and the pacifiers. Because of this, we are much more highly attuned to body language, word choice, and subtle suggestions. Trust your instinct. You know if you're being flirted with. You know when someone is into you. Learn to trust those impressions and then act on them. Half moves are key. You don't have to go whole hog. If you make enough of a move, the guy's going to get the message and reciprocate. You don't always have to leap into the kiss or be super explicit, just explicit enough that your intentions can't be mistaken. The problem is, and see point 1, that often means being twice as explicit as you'd need to be for a woman. What feels blunt to you can feel subtle to a man. Have an exit. If things don't go as planned, don't leave yourself in cringe land. If you're at a bar, you can always walk out the door. If you're in assigned seats at a theater, you're pretty stuck. Pick a moment where, if you do get a rejection, you can excuse yourself to go lick your wounds. Blunt can be easier. You know those nights when you check your phone every 3.5 minutes to see if he texted. You can save yourself a lot of pain if you just say it out loud. People find it refreshing. You go up to that cute guy after class and you say your thing. You ask him out, and if you get rejected, it will hurt like a motherfucker. But, like pulling off a band-aid, it also stops hurting much more quickly. If you do the protracted "here's my number, call me sometime" bullshit, you have weeks of pain by him not calling. Not worth it. The quick, decisive rejection hurts less than the long protracted one. Be clear. The guys in this thread saying our odds are better, they are not wrong. But the odds of what you get are a different story. chances are good you can throw a rock and hit a drunk guy that wants to fuck at a frat party. Finding someone who wants to date and or commit, more difficult. Be careful of using sex as a lure because you'll probably get the 6, but the stuff that comes after was not as advertised. If all you want is the 6, go for it. But if you're looking for more, be clearer. The 2 and 3 weekend maneuver. I have a friend who has amazing A game, and I'm not bad either. We would set up what we called 2 and 3 weekend plans. The first weekend you set the tone. You flirt, you smile, you give out the signal that this is a possibility. It isn't until the second weekend that you capitalize. 3 weekends for more difficult cases. You lay down a sense of longing before you move in for real. You let the idea ferment. This is good for cementing your chances. If you really like someone, going for it all at once can be intimidating, and you run the risk of them backing out because it is too fast. They wore stupid underwear, their apartment is a mess, etc. Some guys, many guys, don't want the fast hookup all the time. They want some substance. Protracting the attraction, laying a flirty foundation, can help you build expectations so that when you do move in you get the desired results. With reference to my last point, a partner helps. A third person can help keep the conversation moving. They can be the one to fetch drinks, handle random obstacles, and make timely suggestions. Aforementioned friend lived very close to me. I'd invite her and her intended over because it wasn't threatening if I did the invite. Inevitably, I'd get a phone call that would take me away from them and she'd take it from there. Wingmen/women are key. Have fun. Rejection isn't that bad. It just isn't. The more you do it, the easier it gets. It often isn't even about you so much. If you approach it like a game, like a fun thing, instead of a make or break thing, you'll have a good time. The more fun you're having, the less stressed you are, the more attractive you seem. Go out and get used to being told no. It is freeing. Once you clear the hump of it being soul crushing, it just stings. Practice hearing no, it'll help. This is probably going to get buried, but fuck it. Ladies, we've all got a mental checklist about what we find attractive in a man. Height, build, interests, intellect, and let's be honest, there are a lot of dudes out there who fit that list. But there's also a big long subconscious list, and you check those things off by interacting with them, and to do that you've actually got to, interact. I promise you, your odds of making your way through the frogs to your Prince Charming increase immeasurably when you take control of the situation and do the approaching. Because when you're doing the legwork, you're going to be interacting with dudes you already find attractive. You are much more likely to get what you want when you put yourself in control of how you get it. It is not unladylike or slutty to approach a man in a bar, buy him a drink, and start a conversation. You are not some delicate flower to be plucked or a trophy to be won. Actually, you're totally in charge of your sex life, and that starts with interacting with dudes. Finally, do not sweat rejection. Think about the number of times you've had to reject someone and how horrifyingly uncomfortable that was because you didn't find them sexually attractive, which had absolutely nothing to do with them and everything to do with you. When you get rebuffed by a man, it is exactly the same thing. There's nothing wrong with you personally, you are just not what he's looking for. In the worst case scenario, you go and chat a dude up, and he turns you down. You have lost absolutely nothing from that encounter. Nothing. Get out there. Be the master of your own fate. Made the first move a few times. Sometimes it didn't work. Sometimes it did. One guy I was absolutely infatuated with. I spent months trying to read him to see if he was interested, but he was hard to read and fickle. Finally asked him if he'd be interested in going out. He said yes. I suggested a place and a date and he never responded. So I walked up to him and said, I like you, and I'm not really sure if you like me, so I just needed to tell you so I can get over it. He just sat there speechless, so I walked away. It was the best thing I ever did for myself. The next time I made the first move, it was the guy I stayed with. Still together 7 years later. The best thing about making the first move is there's not a lot of goose walk. You know very quickly who can handle you and your speed and who you are not willing to wait for. Taught me a lot about what I don't want, so I could recognize what I wanted when I saw it. Thank you so much for watching the whole video. Please leave a like and subscribe.